Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Folks, I am very excited about today's episode because my guest today, he's not just the gold standard, he is the platinum standard of content creation and communication professionals. I was going to refer to him as an interviewer, kind of like the Jon Stewart of Larry King's, but that doesn't quite cover it because he frequently takes current events and he distills them into digestible 10-minute segments on his YouTube channel, which now boasts over 1.3 million subscribers. His Twitter page his Twitter pages boast a combined 730,000 followers, and his tweets are frequently viral. And if that wasn't enough, Brian is also a former actor and a fitness expert. Is there anything he can't do? We'll find out when we speak to my guest today, influencer, activist, and host of the hit show No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. Please join me in welcoming Brian Tyler Cohen.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on the show, Brian.
With the applause, I love it.
I got to say, it is a hell of a thing trying to get you. You were a tough guy to get on to get onto the show. I was able to get the Pope to agree to a sit down, with me on the show. I don't know what's wrong with this picture here. Aside from, why am I mad dogging the Pope?
Here's the thing. I think well, first of all, I know I've stretched myself a little bit thin, but I'm almost a one-man operation with my daily YouTube videos. It's just me. So I have some help with my podcast, my weekly podcast, and I have some help just running a couple of social media accounts, and I have some help editing my interviews. But otherwise, my daily YouTube videos, which is my bread and butter, it's a one-man operation. So definitely stretched a little bit thin, but persistence pays off. So thanks for making it happen.
Dude, I mean, I am flabbergasted. When you say you're a one-man operation, I swear to God, I would have bet money that you have a team of people working with you, because seriously, the quality is there. And I mean, you put out a ton of content. None of it is sloppy or shoddy. It's top notch. So my hat definitely is off to you.
Thanks. I mean, the people who do help me do a phenomenal job. I just the last thing that I've clutched my claws into are those YouTube videos, my daily like breaking news videos that I put 1 or 2 out a day, and I just don't have the heart to relinquish those to anybody else. Hopefully I'll get there at some point, but not yet.
Do you get any downtime? Like, what's your work schedule like?
Work schedule is basically 12 hours a day, sometimes a little bit more. So I'll usually start working at 8:30 or 9 when I wake up, and I'll usually go until about 8:30 and have some dinner, maybe watch a movie, and then get to it a little bit more before I go to bed. So yeah, works out to about 12 hours a day, and I work 7 days a week.
That is brutal. 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's the part that's rough, and it wears on you. I think that's like the main thing too, as like a creator. And I don't think you realize this, from the other side, but if you're the burnout is real, and it's something that's like really inside baseball within like the YouTube community and within all these creators. And I know it's something that the folks that work at YouTube, make sure that we know is something that we're taking into account. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work. Basically, the whole creator universe has taken the jobs of, dozens of people and just kind of condensed them into the job of one person or 2 or 3 people. But I mean, it's far less than you would see at a studio, where you would have somebody, curating certain content, somebody writing all the content, and you have the on-air talent, and then they would hand it off to the editor. That all happens streamlined. And I know for any of these creators, from you to, the TYTs of the world, Packman and Klinsky and all those guys. I'm sure that they're doing the jobs of 10 different people. What would have
Yeah.
historically been 10 different people that just now is just a couple.
It's impressive, but make sure you take some time to smell the flowers or watch a
Yeah,
movie or whatever,
yeah.
right?
After midterms,
Right,
I think I'll
right,
be able to
right.
do that. So,
Let's cut to some of the burning questions. I'm sure people want to know. You seem to have mastered the art of the smoldering look.
yeah. Well,
Is that teachable?
you know what? Anything is teachable. I was an actor in my past life, so I've taken many a headshot, and so the smolder is actually it's a skill that I think I've lost as I've continued doing more political commentary. But the smolder is just a little remnant from a past life.
Okay. Now, you may or may not have heard me during my intro mention a fitness expert. So I was doing my research, before I had brought you on. I wanted to make sure I do my homework. And I found this website that's called, what is it called? Uh, famouscelebrities.com.
Oh, well, there you go.
And
Looks
dude,
that
this
looks
is what
super legit. Let's see this. Oh my god. So this is
This is what they
yeah.
said. They said, before setting off on the journey of becoming a political commentator, Brian tried his hands in fitness training for Steel Fitness Club as he had a fit body.
Yeah. First of all, I don't these websites pop up all the time, and I don't know, it's like a bot wrote them. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
wherever they gleaned that information, it's true. I was a personal trainer for from I think my junior or sophomore year in college until about I don't know, maybe 8 years or so after that, 7 years or so after that. So that's
Mhm.
what helped me pay for college. That's what helped me survive living out in Los Angeles while I was not booking roles. And yeah, it seems like such a faraway life because now I'm lucky if I can get to the gym like 2 days a week. And I was not only working out myself all the time, great,
I
not
have
only
found
working
no
out my
evidence to contradict that.
well, I was not only working out myself all the time, but I was helping other people work out. And now, yeah, now I'm lucky if I can get out of the house, but I do try.
Yeah, that's impressive, man. You got the abs of steel there, dude. How did you? I mean, yeah, I don't want to get lost in this. I am actually literally just leaving this image up for just a few seconds longer as cheesecake for the audience.
It's
Okay.
very rare that I'm completely embarrassed, but that's one of those moments.
Now, so acting, I found it really interesting that you're originally an actor. That was you have an IMDb page and everything.
Yeah.
And you've been in movies like Submerged. What happened last night? I watched the trailer for Blue Call, which I really want to see now. I saw you screaming like you were in agony. Right? You're a cop, right?
Uh,
Right.
Blue Call, I was a paramedic actually in that one.
Oh, damn! I
Yeah,
saw you wearing a uniform.
yeah.
Okay, um, and I think you were saying you thought like you weren't going to make it or something. Uh, you've also been in TV shows like Math Bites and New Dogs, Old Tricks. Now, what made you take the turn from acting into full time influencer, activist, political commentator?
So I've always been interested in politics. Politics was always like an underlying passion of mine. When I was in college, I organized buses to make sure that, it was in 2008. So it was Obama's first election. I organized buses to bring students down to the polls in like a famously apathetic college environment. And even while I was out here, while I was working at a gym, at the front desk of a gym, just as like a little part-time gig. I used to work at night because the fewest people would bother me, and I could sit there and write articles, like freehand, and then go home and type them up, political op-eds, go home, type them up, submit them to HuffPost, and they would publish them. And so I got published in HuffPost a lot. And that's actually like how everything started. I mean, but this was just me doing it because I loved it. Like I was always so interested in politics, and like the acting was, like I was a theater kid growing up, so I was always, that was always like a dream of mine. But I always was super interested in politics. I'd always done whatever I could to just stay involved. I would just read new. I'm like sitting there 20 years old reading the New York Times. Like
Yeah.
it was, I just couldn't escape it. And so it was always there. And then there was just a moment, I think toward the end of my acting career, well, at the end of my acting career, where I was out for a commercial audition for God knows what, Doritos or something like that. And just sitting in the waiting room, and they call you in, and the way auditions work is sometimes they don't even really need to hear you say whatever the script is, whatever the lines are in the commercial. Sometimes they just want to see what you look like, because let's say they have a blonde and they need a brunette. Let's say the blonde is, this tall, and they want a brunette guy that's 1 inch taller than her. Like it's all based on looks or something like that. And so they just want to see you, and they just do a cattle call, and they bring you in, and they might have you, they'll ask you stuff like, what's your favorite movie? And you just say your favorite movie, and then you go home, and you've driven across town, you've paid for parking, maybe gotten a ticket because it's Los Angeles, drive all the way back home in rush hour, wait to see what your agent says. You don't hear back. And it's just such a whole thing. And my heart just like wasn't in it anymore. And I remember my very last audition, like I said, it was like for Doritos or something like that. I remember calling my agent as I was walking out of the building and being like, "Hi, I think that I'm done. I don't think you have to send me out on anything else anymore." And she kind of knew. She was, like the writing was on the wall, because I had just started getting into YouTube and everything. And she was like, "Okay." And so that was it. That was the end. It was just kind of, I didn't feel the same passion for it. And with everything going on, during the Trump administration, I just thought it was more important. I didn't want to like look back and say like, okay, what did I spend my like, formative years, quote unquote, doing? And was it more important for me to use any semblance of a platform that I had on something that I thought would be meaningful, or, going out on auditions for potato chips? So I think
I
like
gotta
it
say,
was clear.
Brian, I gotta say, guys like you, young men like you, young people like yourself, give me hope, because
Thanks.
you could have. I mean, acting was a dream for you, but you care more about the state of our nation, the state of our democracy, than your own personal goals, than your own personal, well-being. You're working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So really, we need more young people like you. And I hope, I hope in November we can turn out enough of you to make a difference for midterms.
Well, I appreciate that. But also, I mean, what you're doing and what a lot of people out there, I mean, a lot of people reach out to me pretty often and say, like, how do I start? And I think it's so important. I mean, one of the main reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing is because I saw that there was such a void in the left of center media space. And there were so many people on the right. I mean, you had the Ben Shapiro's and Tommy Lahrens and Steven Crowder's, all those guys just own that space. And so there was such a void that when I started making my videos, I mean, I think that there was an appetite for it. I'm hoping that, a lot of those, the views I got, especially in the beginning, were just like a testament to the fact that there was an appetite for this stuff, because there was just such an absence of it. There was such a vacuum. And I think it's just so important that more people come in. And we're not all going to reach the same people. Some people are going to be way more progressive. Some people are going to be way more moderate. It doesn't matter. I think that's like a thing too, is like, you kind of feel like you have to appeal to everyone, but you don't. And I wouldn't want to. And I know that there are people who are more and less progressive than me. And I know that they watch other people and they might be like, "Oh, screw that guy." That's fine. Like, as long as you're watching the person who comports with whatever your values are, but as long as you're pushing the agenda left and working on, so many of the important things that we're working on as Democrats, as progressives, wherever you land yourself, I think that's important. So you don't have to like you don't have to satisfy everybody, but if you can satisfy your slice of people, that's fine. And activate those people and make sure that they get registered, make sure that their friends and family get registered, make sure that they do what they have to do. And then if the next guy who's more or less progressive than you can activate their people, then that's great. And like, I think that's what's important about like this ecosystem. You don't have to be somebody for everybody, but everybody needs somebody.
I hear you saying everyone ain't gonna like you, but everyone's voice is crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like get started, because like you don't know what it's going to turn into. I was doing my videos for 30 and 40 people in the very beginning, and oh man, the comments weren't great. You just
I'm there right now.
Just keep your head down and just keep going. But like there's only one way to go, and that's up. And so like keep at it. I mean, like I said in the beginning, I was getting 30 views a video, and then I remember my first videos that got a couple hundred views, and it was great, and that's what fueled me. And then I was like, hit 1,000, I had a couple that were 10,000, then I went back to a few hundred, and you figure out your formula, but keep going. And I think that there's, like I said, it's just important to reach people and to fill this space with good information, and just kind of take some of the oxygen away from what has been a really aggressive right-wing ecosystem.
Now, you talk about fill the space with good information, and my God, Brian, you've had some major interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, primarily President Biden. When I saw you had a President Biden interview, I was like, holy shit, that's the mother of all interviews.
Yeah, man, you and me both.
I have a little clip I'd like to share. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay, let's see. Let me just get this here. And bada bing, bada boom.
We're here today in the White House. Thank you, President Biden, for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you for wanting to speak.
Of course. This is the first interview you've done since your big announcement that you've nominated Judge Ketanji Jackson to the Supreme Court. You've had a number of qualified candidates to choose from. Why did you ultimately go with her?
Well, several reasons. Number one, I committed 2 years ago. If I got elected president, I would name, if I had an opportunity, I'd name the first African American woman to the Supreme Court. Because I think courts should look like the country. I think it should reflect the country. And by the way, our administration is the most diverse administration in American history. We actually, it was pointed out to me, look around, you can see more women in my administration than there are men. The point is that I want to bring the country together. And number one. Number two, she's brilliant.
Okay. I don't want to play the whole thing, because I think if you guys want to check out the full video, you should absolutely check out Brian Tyler Cohen's YouTube page. And it's youtube.com/c/his name, Brian Tyler Cohen. And when you're fancy, they give you a URL that is your name.
That's what we have to aspire to, the personalized URL. Small victories.
Was President Biden your all-time biggest interview?
Yeah, I don't know how you get much bigger than that. Yes, that was the biggest interview. I'm still kind of shocked that it happened. I was shocked when I found out it was going to happen. I was shocked when it didn't get canceled every day, every hour, and I was shocked when he walked into the room. So yeah, it was a pretty remarkable experience. I honestly think that was one of the best days of my life. I mean, you see all of these people. I'm doing what I do. I live out in LA, so I'm not in like the DC bubble like everybody else is that works in politics. But I see all of these people. I see them on their clips on TV. I see them, on C-SPAN. I see them in my interviews with them. And but they're just people on TV. They're like TV show characters for me almost, because they're just all virtual. And going there, and I was able to meet Ron Klain, to meet Jen Psaki and to, kind of speak with all the people who've been helping me behind the scenes, all of my points of contact there. And then, of course, President Biden, it was kind of surreal because, it's like seeing your favorite characters on a show, except now they're in real life. And so that was pretty remarkable. I mean, I've done 108 interviews so far, including the one I just wrapped today, and only 2 of them have been in person. So it's a whole different beast to go in person and not kind of have the crutch of a computer to rely on to protect you.
You've also interviewed Vice President Kamala Harris, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Beto O'Rourke, Rep Jamie Raskin. I mean,
Jamie was a fun one because they actually used a few clips of my interview with the congressman during Trump's impeachment trial, where they were trying to do this false equivalency, draw this false equivalency between Trump telling people to go fight, or these Republicans telling people to go fight on January 6th, and pretending as if anytime the word fight leaves your lips, that it's the same exact thing.
Cut.
Yeah.
I remember.
And so I was live streaming the impeachment trial, and all of a sudden, and during that supercut, and dear God, they had the longest supercuts. I mean, they were like super cuts. They had like a 7-minute supercut on just getting the word fight. And every time somebody said the word fight, apparently that was the exact same thing as inciting an insurrection. So they had Jamie Raskin said the word fight like 3 times during the interview. And so I'm watching the impeachment trial, and my face pops up while I'm live streaming on the impeachment trial. And I was just like, what? so that was my claim to fame. I'll tell you what, in an impeachment trial between where Jamie Raskin is the lead impeachment manager and Donald Trump is who's on trial, if I had to have my face next to Jamie in that trial, that is I was more than honored to go down in history that way.
Indeed. Is there anyone that you most want to interview that you haven't been able to so far?
Yes, and I have a list. It's not very long, but I have AOC. I would love to interview Stacey Abrams. I would love to interview both senators from Georgia, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. And I would like to interview
both of them at the same time.
I'll take whatever I can get. Whatever. Generally, it's hard enough to get a senator to give you 15 minutes anyway. But to combine 2 people's schedules, I think is a little bit insurmountable. But I'll take whatever I can get. Obama, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and finally Jon Stewart. So I thought it was funny that you had Jon Stewart up before, because he is a huge inspiration for what I do. I like everybody else who grew up when we grew up. I think Jon Stewart and The Daily Show were like a massive inspiration to a lot of people who eventually took an interest in politics.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's that's an incredible list. That's I hope if you even get one of those names.
I know. I'll be
that's like a home run.
I'll be happy. Yeah.
Now I want to pick your brain about a variety of topics here, because you seem to have a consistently very astute insight on politics in America. But first, we have a segment that I call Twitter Tips and Tricks. And now what this is basically, you are what I would consider a power user on Twitter. You have a whole lot of followers and you have a lot of tweets that consistently go viral. So what tips or tricks can you give to our viewers that can help them to Twitter better?
So I think the first one is like good Twitter etiquette. I think it'll help. I think it helps make the platform a better place. So I want the first one to be this. I think when you have these bad actors who rely on outrage bait, and like we've all seen those tweets where it's just like purposefully poking the bear, and people quote tweet them or reply to them to let them know what a clown they are, because it's like the most insane thing that you've ever heard. And then by virtue of you quote tweeting and by virtue of replying, it actually pushes that tweet farther into the Twitter sphere and you get more
Right.
engagement, the tweet does better and better. It's outrage bait, and it's exactly what they're looking for. These people don't say these things in a vacuum. They know exactly what they're doing. So I think the first thing is when you have tweets like that, especially by these people who aren't big names, but are obviously trying to be maybe like the most extreme congressional candidate or Senate candidate in a race or something like that, or just these like hacky pundits, just screenshot their tweets instead of quote tweeting and deprive them of that oxygen. This way their tweet doesn't go anywhere after that. So, when you have like the Charlie Kirks and like people like that who just like thrive, who survive off of like being, just baiting people, just don't give them what they want. Don't reward them for their bad behavior.
So just to clarify for our audience here, that means, guys, that their tweets will not get the impressions, the views, the likes and retweets that they crave. So that's excellent advice. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I think in terms of just like what will help your tweets do well, I think I would opt for quality over quantity. And instead of just pumping stuff out as much as you can just for the sake of it, just try to get like as good a quality tweet as you can. And you don't, some days I have like 3 or 4 and that's it. And then I'm done. And as opposed to just like kind of farting one out just for the sake of doing it, just hold on. There's always going to be tomorrow. And then some days you have days where it's just crazy. And you're going to have too many where you're like, dear God, what did I spend all day doing? But there's never any shortage of content. That's after a lot of, I gotta let my dog out. One second.
This is live, ladies and gentlemen.
This is live. This is the love. Gotta love live TV.
By the way, that's the famous white wall that Brian Tyler Cohen always films in front of this wall.
Yeah, I've actually, the white wall is funny because I've booked hotel rooms solely based on whether or not there's a white wall. I've always had this white wall, but I'm actually changing it in about 7 or 8 weeks, and I think this is the first time I've let that be known. So that's
you're hearing it first here.
Yeah, that's an exclusive for you. Yes. That's I think after about 3 years, the white wall will be no more. I've heard you, for all those people who say that it hurts to stare at this white wall at night. I get it. And so the white wall will be no more soon enough.
What's it going to be? What's it going to be?
That we'll have to wait and see. I can't give it all away here.
Gray.
Possibly. I do have a very, very limited color palette. I'm not super adventurous in my color palette, as you can see. But anyway, yeah. So like I was saying, I would say quality over quantity for those tweets. And the last thing I think is just a general idea. I think the last thing is I just ask myself what kind of content I would want to consume. And that's what I put out. If I'm reading something somewhere, or if there's like an idea that I'm throwing around and it's boring for me, I won't tweet it. It's going to be boring for somebody else. If I'm watching a video and I'm trying to think if it's worth tweeting, I'm like, well, did I watch it until the end? Was I interested in it? And it's just as simple as that. I think like if you can put yourself as a creator in the shoes of a consumer at the same time, because we're all content consumers at the same time that we create content, then it's easy to see what'll do well, because use yourself as a guinea pig, use yourself as the test case. And so I think those are the biggest things for me.
So if you don't like your own tweet, don't tweet it.
Don't tweet it. You don't have to. No one's forcing you to.
Now I just I selected a few these tweets here. Your tweets have gone so viral that people they're getting memed, and this is on $100 bill. It says
I've never even seen this. Yeah.
Yeah, the post office is secure enough for millions of Americans to send taxes to the IRS every year, secure enough for the government to mail out $1,200 stimulus checks, secure enough to send credit cards and passports and driver's licenses, but not secure enough for ballots. Got it. And it's funny, as I read this, I hear you saying it in your voice, and so that's another thing too. Eventually people will discover what their own voice is. Here's another one here. this is memed by Occupy Democrats. Yes, inflation is high. That's why Democrats propose measures to cut costs like capping insulin prices and suspending the gas tax and all of the elements of Build Back Better, from childcare to lower drug prices. Republicans blocked all of it. They wail about problems and offer zero solutions. And I wanted to use this tweet as a segue um, into the election of 2022, the midterms. Oh, actually, wait a minute. Before I do that, we do have to discuss the mass shootings that have been. It's been like a string of mass shootings. Ever since like 3 weeks ago in Buffalo, it seems like there's been one every few days, and it's hard to keep track of them. Is America's response to these mass shootings going to be any different this time than it has going back to Sandy Hook or Columbine? What's different this time?
I think we have to differentiate between America's response and what these Republicans in Congress and in the Senate do, because America's response is and always has been to overwhelmingly move to fix so many of these problems. We have 90% support for stuff like background checks and red flag laws and stopping the mentally ill from being able to purchase guns, and there's even high support on more restrictive measures. I mean, raising the age to buy one of these, semi-automatic assault rifles from 18 to 21. The American people are all overwhelmingly where we need to be and where the rest of the world is on issues like this. It's just the fact that when you have 90% of Americans who support one thing and yet 0% of Republicans in Congress and in the Senate who support it, then there's a massive disconnect between who those people, like the interest that those people are actually representing, because it's not the interest of their constituents. You don't have 90% support across the political spectrum and yet somehow say, okay, I have zero tolerance for any of these laws. I mean, and if you want to know why, then just follow the money. The gun lobby and the NRA have donated at an exponentially higher rate to Republicans. That's not to say that Democrats don't accept gun money as well, but at a fraction of what Republicans accept. And that's who these people are serving. And so, do I think anything will happen? I mean, it's the cynical response, but no, I don't. That doesn't mean that I don't hope it does. Hope against hope that it does, but no, I think that the way to achieve some common sense, overwhelmingly popular gun reforms is to take the people who are blocking those reforms out of power. And that's I hope that young people see this, who don't want to be in school or remember being in school when they were doing lockdown drills and hiding behind their desks, something that I never had to do. And thank God I didn't have to do it. But 18, 19, 20-year-olds who remember this stuff. I hope that young parents who are just sending their kids to school for the first time, who might be politically apathetic, who might be politically neutral, see this stuff that's going on and say, I wouldn't otherwise be involved in politics. I wouldn't normally make sure to return my ballot. I wouldn't make sure to go to the polls, but I'm going to now because I see how this is impacting me. And I don't want to send my kid to school and not know if it's the last time I'm going to see him. I don't know if I want to go to the supermarket and it'd be the last time that I leave the house. I don't know if I want my parents to go to church or synagogue or, wherever it is. We've seen just at a funeral the other day, there's nowhere that's safe. There's, in this country right now. And so there are people who are proposing solutions and there are people who are blocking those solutions. And so, if your daily safety supersedes everything else, which I imagine it would, I imagine that it's more important than transitory, economic factors like the price of gas and inflation, which, is not to say that those aren't important, because they are. But I mean, this is foundational. This is life and death. And so if those issues are important to you, then even the people who weren't otherwise involved in the political ecosystem, who don't pay attention, God knows we all have them. I have family members who could not care less, even despite what I do on a daily basis. Right. I hope that those people pay attention and recognize that their voice in this stuff is going to have a direct impact on the changes that are made moving moving forward. And if you look at something like the assault weapons ban, the 1994 assault weapons ban that expired in 2004, I mean, look at the number of shootings that have just exploded since then. I mean, that is as clear an example as you'll ever find of the impact that like electing the right people has direct, obvious consequences to how we live our lives. And you know, I hope people recognize that, and I hope it brings people into politics that wouldn't otherwise have been involved.
This is one of your tweets from just 2 days ago. You said it's not the doors, it's not mental health issues, it's not video games or godlessness or fatherlessness, it's not porn, it's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns, it is the guns.
Yeah, I mean, this
And
stuff is just it drives me crazy, because the one thing that I hate more than anything is this like intellectual dishonesty where they're pretending, where it's political theater. It's like they're playing make believe, and it's only a small subset of people, because like I said, even Republican voters know that in a country with 400 million guns and more mass shootings than anywhere else on the planet, if we're trying to figure out what the reason we have so many shootings is, it's probably the guns. Every other country has all of the other things that these Republicans put forward as excuses for these mass shootings. I mean, we're not the only country with doors. You know, we're not the only country with mental health issues. We're not the only country with video games or porn or godlessness or fatherlessness. But we are the only country with these daily mass shootings and slaughters of kids in elementary schools. The only difference is the guns. And so, you know, forget about even proposing solutions. The people that are just pretending that it's not even the 1,000-pound elephant in the room are just, it's that disingenuousness that just drives me off the walls.
We have more guns than people. The only country with more guns and more people, and their argument that the only thing that defeats a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. We have more good guys with guns that you could shake a gun at. And that's not helping. That's not preventing any of these mass shootings from happening.
Look at Uvalde. There was a whole police force full of good guys with guns. And yet still, you know, dozens and dozens and dozens of minutes were going by where nobody was going into the building because they were so worried about what would happen. I mean, forget about the incompetence, but they were worried about the fact that there was a shooter with an AR-15, that nobody would approach that guy. If you have a weapon that even the police are too afraid to approach you with, then maybe that weapon shouldn't be sold, you know, in the United States. So.
Okay. So November, what is your forecast? What is our outlook for victory in November? What are you odds? Where do you put them?
Look, I know that the thing to say is that historically in a midterm year, the party the party in power is going to lose seats. I know that we're also being dragged down by a low approval rating with President Biden, but look, you know, politics isn't like it used to be, and the issues that are presenting themselves right now are issues that we've never had to contend with. I mean, we're facing the gutting of Roe, which is a right that women have been able to enjoy, Americans have been able to enjoy for 50 years. And then now we're in a country where women are being stripped of their bodily autonomy systemically in a number of states across the country. They're even being deprived of Plan B pills, of mail-in contraceptives, of just every aspect of their reproductive health rights. We live in a country where, you know, like we were just talking about, I mean, kids are getting mowed down in elementary schools. It's not the same. It's not the same backdrop as like a normal election. And so I think when people look, I'm hoping, perhaps, you know, possibly naively, that people are just going to recognize these issues and say, okay, you want something to be done on the guns? There is one party that's going to do it. You want something that's going to be done to protect a woman's right to her own bodily autonomy? There's one party that's going to be able to do it. And so, you know, we've never had rights stripped away from us, and we've never, you know, seen such a deluge of killings, unlike anything else that any other country is dealing with outside of wartime. So hopefully we'll see that, and it's not just the regular political bullshit that we're used to, where, well, it's a cyclical cycle, and we voted in Democrats last time. Now we'll vote in Republicans. We'll talk about, you know, migrant caravans. We'll talk about gas prices, and maybe there's going to be a war. It's just like all that stuff is out the window. This is an entirely different backdrop that we're operating against. And, like we said before, I mean, so much of this stuff is life and death. So much of this stuff directly impacts people. And it's not so ethereal like all of the other issues that we've faced before. I mean, like we can talk about migrant caravans, but like how many people does that really impact? But when you don't know if your kid is going to go to school and not come home that day, that's an entirely different issue altogether. When you have a daughter or a girlfriend or a wife who wants to exercise her right to go get an abortion if she wants one, because it's a free country and you should have autonomy over your own body, and you can't, that's a major impact that's going to impact your life, as opposed to the war on Christmas, So I'm hoping that people see this, and it's it's what I work, on a daily basis to make sure people know about. And, we'll see what happens in November. I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm also raising money for voter registration groups across the country. I've raised $950,000 so far for organizations in a ton of states. So if anybody watching wants to donate, this has been my passion project for the last year. You can go to don'tbeamitch.com. Obviously focused on Mitch McConnell. So don'tbeamitch.com. And it's just an Act Blue link. Nothing goes to me. It's all directly to these organizations, all of whom I've vetted and spoken with, and they do great work. And so that's what I've been doing. I don't believe at all that this election is a lost cause, and I'm going to make sure, with what I do, and hopefully everybody else in this space, will let people know what's at stake in November.
Let me ask you, what do you buy into what a lot of the pundits I'm hearing are saying about Democratic messaging? That Democrats don't know how to message properly. Their messaging sucks. Blah blah blah. Do you agree with that assessment?
I do. I think the message could use a lot of work, and I think the messengers can use a lot of work. And I think that something that I would like to see is just I would like to see our messengers, like especially in Congress, in the Senate, in the White House, just have fight. I think the passion is you can see it. I mean, you look at someone like AOC. Why did she get so popular so quickly? Because she was passionate about this stuff. You look at Chris Murphy, who's just doing a phenomenal job right now. He's passionate about this stuff. You can't fake that. You look at somebody like Mallory McMorrow in, I believe, Michigan. She's passionate. I mean, these are real people. It's not bullshit talking points. It's not platitudes. That stuff, you can smell that from a mile away. So I want the passion, and I want fight, because I mean, I think that's something that drives me crazy too, is like the asymmetry between the two parties, where you can have Democrats say like, oh, well, we need unity, we need civility, we have to like make government work. And then you have the other side who's saying, let's burn this place down. Democrats don't have a right to exist. Let's, like assassinate the vice president. We got to hang Nancy Pelosi. Like the asymmetry between these two sides is just out of this world. And so I think once we stop pretending that both sides are playing the same game, because they're not, we'll be in a better place, because like I said, I mean, right now we're on the democracy bus. They're not. It's, we're talking about bringing a knife to a gunfight. We're bringing a plastic spoon. So I think once we learn how to fight people, and not keep being so surprised whenever something that we could have seen coming 10 miles down the road happens, I think we'll be in a better place.
Brian, I'm hearing you say that when they go low, we should put our foot on their neck.
Just fight.
The shit out of them.
Yeah, we have to. And I think once people on our side start to do that, I think it's going to be hard, because we're on the right side of these issues. We're on the right side of the abortion issue. We're on the right side of voting rights. We're on the right side of guns. We're on the right side of all the elements of Build Back Better, whether it's childcare and protecting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and just every issue, one after the next. We are on the right side of taxing millionaires and billionaires. Whatever it is, we can go all day. We are on the right side of these issues. I think it's just a matter of confronting this Republican disinformation apparatus that we're always at the mercy of, and also just being on the offense with our messaging. And
Yeah.
you saw us be on the offense when it was 2018 and we were defending the ACA and people's right to have health care. We were on the offense, and what happened? We won over 40 seats in the House. So when we are when we're in a position where we're not just on our heels and fighting back against Republican disinformation about, like I mentioned before, migrant caravans and wars on Christmas and socialism, communism, Marxism, whatever the issue of the day is, too much porn, too many doors, like whatever there's not a Jesus picture on my Starbucks cup, whatever it is. Like once we can like put that stuff aside and start focusing on the issues that impact people that they care about by an overwhelming majority and support us on by an overwhelming majority, then we will win.
We have a plethora of issues that we can hammer Republicans with and gin up the base, and make a repeat of 2018. Specifically, though, I think with the Senate, we definitely need to. Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic House are consistently, passing bills, but they go to die in the Senate. So we obviously need not just 2 Democratic senators, preferably 3, so that we can easily circumvent the bullshit from Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I started that fund. The fund is Don't Be a Mitch fund. It's specifically intended to make sure that Mitch McConnell is never in power again. I think, if we can get 2 more senators, like you said, preferably, I mean, look, we'll take whatever we can get, right? But 2 more senators to be able to eliminate the filibuster and just pass these bills. And I know that people say, oh, what's going to happen when the shoe's on the other foot and Republicans take power? How much worse could it get? I mean, like we're sitting here watching people dying on a daily basis in mass shootings. We're sitting here watching women not be able to get healthcare. We're sitting here watching people of color mostly not be able to vote. We're, like how much worse can it get? What are we afraid of happening that hasn't already happened? And so instead of being so afraid of what the Republicans might do at some untold point in the future, we should just recognize that what they are doing right now is inherently anti-democratic and aggressively dangerous. And so once we put that stuff, like once we put our fears aside and just recognize that like we have to fix this stuff right now, the stuff that's right in front of us, I think we can just move forward at full force and recognize that like if we don't get some of this stuff fixed, then like we're not going to be able, we can't turn back the clock on climate change. We can't turn back the clock on these, the victims' families. We can't turn back the clock on women who were seeking an abortion who weren't able to get one. I mean, these things have to be confronted right now.
All of this. Thank you, Brian. You say that so well. You really, thank you for that. We are now at the part of the show, which is my favorite part. This is the guessing game, where you get to choose one of several categories, one of 3. This one is guess that 2000s song. So it's a song from the 2000s, from the year 2000 to the year 2010. Name that 2000s trivia. Or number 3 is I should have known that, which is, this is just not specific to the 2000s. I went with the 2000s because you're, on the younger side. But this is stuff that you swear but maybe you don't. So,
I'll go with, and I have to choose one of these categories?
Yeah.
Let's go to the second category.
Name that 2000s
trivia.
All right.
But fair warning, I'm so ill-equipped in the world of like pop culture because all I do is stare at people like Mitch McConnell all day that everything else has just like been displaced in my brain. So just fair warning, it might look like I'm someone who knows nothing about anything that's not politics, and that might be right. so we'll see how it goes.
We shall see. If you get it right, you get a strike of the cowbell.
Okay.
If you get it wrong, you'll hear. Okay.
Here we go.
Here's the first question. What sensational game
Oh,
app
easy.
came out? What?
2009, Angry Birds. Let's go.
Angry Birds. And you are correct, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, you've got one under your belt. Let's see if you can keep it going. What did AIM stand for? Is it A, American Internet Message, B, AOL Instant Messenger, C, Amazon Instant Message, or D, Apple Instant Messenger?
It's B.
Final answer? And you are correct, sir.
Yeah, this stuff occupies, like, these are core memories right here.
Okay, let's see. Who was the top selling musical artist of the 2000s? Was it A,
Ooh.
Eminem, B, Usher, C, Britney Spears, or D, Madonna?
Ooh, this is a really tough one. I want to say Madonna was not the 2000s. She was probably earlier. I think it would probably be, oh man, it's definitely Eminem or Britney Spears. I feel like Eminem is like the best selling musical, like hip hop artist, maybe of all time, but that might be wrong. Let's just go. I'm trying to think of like Eminem's out. You know what? Let's go Eminem, but it might be Britney Spears, but I'll say Eminem.
Oh, he gets it right.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't B. It was A, Eminem. Out of my graphic, I'm gonna have to fire
All
my
good.
graphics
Yeah,
guy.
let him stay. He's okay. Let him live another day. Yeah.
What disease was declared a national emergency in 2009? Is it A, Ebola, B, swine flu, C, measles, or D, bird flu?
It's either A or B. I think it is. Let's say A and just maybe it's Ebola,
Ooh.
but it might be B. Yeah. Yeah.
It was B. We were looking for swine flu. Let's just check in on our audience here. We said Misha says B. Our friend here, Moopy Spoopy, says it was E, the clap.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's not correct. But quite a few people were agreeing with you on A being the
Yeah.
answer. Let's go next. Let's see what's next. What is the highest growing film of the decade? Was it A, The Dark Knight, B, Mean Girls, C, Avatar, or D, Castaway?
I'm gonna go with A, The Dark Knight.
And let's see. Oh, sorry.
Bummer. Yeah, I deserve that.
It was C.
Fully deserve it. Yeah.
Not an easy question to answer. Let's go to the next one. What year did the iPhone debut? Was it A, 2005, B, 2007, C, 2008, or D, 2000? This is a high difficulty question.
It's just like the New York Times. This is like the New York Times crossword puzzle. Man, I feel like Trump here when he's like, oh, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment started off easy, where I just had to identify an elephant. He's like, but it gets harder. You've never seen a test this hard. Let's see. I'm gonna just go for 2007. But it might be 2000. Oh, there you go. All right.
And he's back on a roll. Let's see. Let's keep this going. Which singer sang "It's Getting Hot in Here" in this 2002 hit? Was it A, Eminem, B, Busta Rhymes, C, 50 Cent, or D, Nelly?
I think it was Nelly.
And you are correct.
I'm just shocking myself. Honestly, it's like I have so much, like, all these, like, my brain is just filled with old white guys just bickering back and forth. The fact that I was able to even identify Nelly at this point is just even impressive to me.
Well done. Who said, "Let's
Jigsaw.
play a game"?
Jigsaw, B.
He didn't even let me finish asking the question.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay. Did you see, how many of those did you see?
I think I've seen every single one. I'm huge into horror movies. I think it's
Is it
I think it's
worth
the only
is
thing
it worth
the only thing that's better than reality is watching like these horror movies.
I've
Yeah,
seen the first two. Is it worth it for me to go through the rest of them?
you know what? I'm a tough person to ask because I will watch any horror movie there is. I'll watch the B-list horror movies and the C-list horror movies and the D-list horror movies. So I'm just a fan. I mean, it has to be god awful before
So you've seen The
before I.
Exorcist then?
Oh yeah, yeah, all of it. I mean, from all the way from the days of like Pet Cemetery, like the old school horror movies, all the way to like whatever comes out. If it's out, I'll watch it.
Okay, a lot of folks in the audience are agreeing with you. The Trump Reaper says horror movies are good shit. Peter is a boss says horror buff. I
Yes.
agree. Okay, let's keep it going. Which social media network was founded in 2004? Was it A, Instagram, B, Facebook, C, Twitter, or D, MySpace?
MySpace.
You were fooled by my inflection. I'm so sorry. Wait.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. I think we got another one for you too. What star did Madonna kiss at the 2003 VMAs? Was it A, Britney Spears, B, Drake, C, Avril Lavigne, or D, Kelly Clarkson?
I think it was either Britney Spears or Avril Lavigne. I want to say Britney Spears. Yes. Yeah.
And he's back in the winners column there.
You also have to remember as like a what year was that? 2007 was it?
That
Or earlier?
was 2003, I think.
2003. You got to remember, I was
yeah.
like a 14-year-old boy. That's taking up some permanent real estate in a 14-year-old boy's brain. So.
Okay, my friend. Now this is our final segment is called My Favorite Things. This is meant to be a rapid fire thing
Okay.
where there's no wrong answers. These are your answers. Things are your favorite things. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Your favorite junk food.
Junk food, Swedish fish.
Nice. Favorite music to work out to.
Oh gosh. Well, now I work out to podcasts. That's the only time I have to catch up. So it's podcasts. I mean,
Really?
like talk about a decline from like the days where I was listening to like hip hop or just like whatever was fun. I used to listen to techno. That's what I would listen to. But now it's podcasts. So
techno makes sense because that's like
yeah.
All right.
Now it's just less. Now it's just less cool. So
favorite news program.
News program. Let's see. I'm a big fan of Crooked Media. I really appreciate the Pod Save America guys. So I would say that's what makes up a big part of my news diet.
That's a trend, isn't it? Isn't it? More people are looking to podcasts for their news as opposed to cable news networks or like Rachel Maddow. Is Rachel Maddow losing to the podcast?
I don't have a TV, so I wouldn't even know.
Interesting. Okay. Favorite TV show to binge watch?
Let's go with this latest one. It's Severance, Apple TV.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite political commentator?
Oh, favorite political commentator. Well, I got to stay consistent here. So I would probably say it's any of the Pod Save guys. Those are my favorite ones to listen to.
Very good. Favorite superhero?
I'm not in that world, so I don't have one. I don't have a favorite superhero.
What is a superhero? Yes.
Yeah, I know what a superhero is. I mean, I could say Batman. I could say Batman, but like just know that my heart's not in it, and I could be convinced otherwise.
Okay. Favorite actor?
Favorite actor?
Male or female? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say. I got to give it to Tom Hanks. Green Mile, Forrest Gump. I mean, that's like top of the top for me. I'm a old
Yeah.
school Tom Hanks guy.
Excellent. Excellent. My favorite is Castaway, actually.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that movie. Favorite singer or group?
Oh, you know what? Let's go old school. You know, I feel like I feel like when I really was like listening to music a lot, I loved 50 Cent and Nelly. And then more recently, let's see, in like the techno space, I like Madeon, who I assume many people don't know who that is. And yeah, I can't really remember any others right now. But just
I'm
like,
gonna have to look that up.
yeah,
Madeon.
Madeon, Madeon. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that. I've seen that written
Yeah.
somewhere. Favorite Twitter account?
Favorite Twitter account? Oh, that's a good question. Oh my gosh, I've never even thought of it. It's just I just get a deluge of this stuff on a daily basis. It just like floods my brain. Favorite Twitter account? Uh, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm completely blanking right now. Can we go back? Can we go back to this one? Can I do a
Yes,
pass? Okay, we make the
definitely.
rules, so I guess we can do whatever we want, right?
Walking or jogging?
Oh, jogging. I'm all about efficient uses of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Orange juice or apple juice?
Oh, that's a good one. Apple juice.
Waffles or pancakes?
Oh man. Pancakes, but they have to have chocolate chips in them. I don't think that I've
Oh
had a
shit,
pancake without a chocolate chip in I can't remember when
dude,
the
that is
last time.
hilarious.
Yeah. My food palate is like a child. My favorite food is chicken fingers. Same food it's been since I was like 9 years old. So
That's great.
yeah.
Mail in or in person voting?
Ooh, mail. I live in California. Got to take advantage of it. It's easy, you know.
Okay. If you could live anywhere on the planet, where would that be?
You know, I'm happy. I live in Los Angeles. If I feel like if I didn't want to live in LA, I'd move. But I'm happy here. I mean, there's great places to go visit, but I think LA is a great place to live, even though it's a communist, Marxist, socialist hellscape that Republicans say it is. It's beautiful. I got the beach right outside. Watch the sunset every night. It's like 65 degrees on a cold day. 85 on a hot day. It's perfect. So yeah.
Nice, nice. If you could do any job for one day, what would that be?
Huh. Let's see. Any job for one day. Probably something like really cool outdoors, extreme something, like maybe like maybe one of those people who do like the Red Bull like extreme motocross or something like that, or jumping out of
Hmm,
planes, something like that. That I think that would be really cool.
something
I
with
mean,
a high adrenaline rush.
yeah, because like I think I would die if I did it as me, but if I was somebody else doing their job where I was like, okay, well, you can do that, I can do this as you and won't die, then like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll jump out of a plane. I think that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I were to answer how you just answered, my answer would be those uh not cave, cliff divers. Those
Yeah.
guys that
Oh,
have the wings.
oh my God, 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that
hit the
looks
nail on the head.
amazing. Just
That is exactly what I would do. I would get myself in a wingsuit.
I just don't want to die.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I think we're both there. We both don't wanna die, and we both wanna get in that wingsuit. I think
And
that's
the last question, I think you've already answered. Is any particular charities or foundations slash organizations close to your heart or that you support? And earlier you did mention the "Don't Be a Mitch" thing, but is there like an organization that helps other people that maybe
yeah. I've always loved I'm a huge animal person, so I think any animal organization, and like the smaller it is, I think it's the more important because these people can really use the money. An organization that I've always loved was I'm blanking a little bit on the name, but Namibia Ocean Conservatory, I believe it's called. And it's this guy Nod out in Namibia in Africa, down in the just next to South Africa is Namibia, and he rescues seals, and he'll capture seals that have like fishing line around their neck, and he'll cut the fishing line off and then re-release them into the wild. And he has a YouTube channel, so check him out on YouTube. I've bought clothes. I think what he does is great, and he's like an example of just like one dude who just went out there and he wanted to start rescuing seals, and he did it, and now they're, God knows how many seals are like alive because of this guy. And so big fan of him. But I think anything with animals is where, it's what I wish, honestly, it's what I wish I could focus on if I didn't have to like focus on this bullshit of making sure that, people could vote in what's supposed to be this like beacon of democracy. If I didn't have to spend so much time raising money for that and could actually like put it toward something really useful, like climate change or animals or something like that, something that'll have like a real tangible impact, instead of just like getting back to zero because it's these rights have been stripped away. That's what I would put it toward.
Brian, I can't thank you enough for joining me on the show here. Before you go, I want to make sure I share with everyone. This is Brian's Twitter account, Brian Tyler Cohen. This is his Twitter. And this is his other Twitter. This is for his show, No Lie with BTC. No Lie with BTC. And you can catch that show on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Brian Tyler Cohen. Go ahead and follow him. If you're not already following him, then we can't be friends. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't make the rules. It's just how it is. You really will be missing out on some fantastic content. He's consistently excellent. He works harder than anybody I know, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Check him out. Brian, thank you so much. Please hang on for just 1 second while I bid adieu to my viewers, and thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And folks, thank you for joining me for another fun episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. If you have not already gotten your shot, what are you waiting for? Go and get it. Get your shot. Get your booster. Handle your business. If you are so inclined, please wear a mask. Keep your social distance 6 feet or better. And I look forward to seeing you guys at my next interview, which should be this coming Wednesday. So until then, I love you all. Peace.